everyone, and welcome to another gear reviews video. This week it's going to be a short video, and I just wanted to show you guys a bit of a field test using the Yeti. So all that we're going to do is we're going to go through how to prepare the Yeti, how it kind of works on a average camping trip, and how well it can retain the ice. So let's get right into it. So what you're going to want to do first is you're going to want to condition the Yeti, is what they recommend. So what that means is you're going to look at putting either a bag of ice or some ice packs, or just leaving it in a colder room in your house or your apartment, wherever you are, just to let the insulation that's in the walls cool down. Because if it's somewhere that has been hot, then all that insulation is already going to have heat in it, and it's not going to be adjusted to a colder temperature. So once you put that bag of ice in, you're just going to seal it up, and then you leave it overnight. And as you can see here, after about 16 hours, there's not much water in the bottom of the cooler, so you can tell how great it can work. Next is you take your ice packs that you use. In this case, I have some of the Yeti ones just to see how well they work, and you put those in the bottom because that's what they recommend, and then you fill that up with ice. And just by doing that, you're creating a really solid base layer. All you really need is to fill it just enough to cover the ice packs. So then what I've done here is I've loaded a bunch of things in, probably more than I should have, as there's not really much ice left. And then all that I'm going to do is fill up the rest with ice, just to fill all the open spaces. As the less open space there is, the better that ice is going to stay and be retained. That way everything's going to stay colder longer. It's going to keep everything cold longer, and then your stuff is going to spoil, like cheese and everything. So that's ideally what you want. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just showing you how everything is after the trip that we went on. So I loaded this ice around 4 o'clock on the 2nd of August, and then when we got back from our trip, it was the 6th, so about 4 or 5 days later, almost exactly, just to show you how it retained the ice after the trip and during and everything. So I only topped the cooler up once, and that was just because we had extra ice and we didn't want it to go to waste. So as you can see, everything still is quite cold. There's still a good amount of ice in there, as you can see. And also, I never drained the cold water, as they say you shouldn't, because then you're taking away from filled space again. The bottom layer completely refroze with those ice packs in there. Maybe that's why they say to do it that way. Basically, this is how it looks after a 5-day trip, 4 or 5 days, and you've still got a ton of ice in there. So definitely Yeti ice retention works really well, as our other coolers that we had on the trip were completely melted almost all the time, and one for certain was melted by the time we got up to the cottage, which is about a 4-hour drive. So that's not great when you're trying to keep things cold, and if you had milk or something in there, that's not really how you want your milk to stay. Alright, so again, here's just a really good view of what's in the cooler, the ice, the water, all of that, just how full it is, how big that chunk of ice actually is. Alright, so now we're looking another day later at 6 o'clock, just to show you again how well the retention is. So there is a good amount of water in there, but there's still a huge chunk of ice, so it really does work really great to hold that cold temperature, and it doesn't warm up very much. You have to remember this is after around 5 or 6 days out where there is no cold temperature, sitting in a cottage with no air conditioning or anything. Alright, so now we're looking almost a full week after, so a full 6 days, almost 7, and it is just about complete water right now. There is probably a couple ice cubes left in it, but realistically it's just cold water right now. But still, to say 6 days of lots of opening and closing when we were at the cottage, and then all of this stuff that we're doing for the video, really just shows how great that Yetis really are and why they are marked at such a high price point. Alright, so now I'll just show you how that vortex technology works that I talked about and how the draining works. So all you really have to do is undo the screw a little bit and then the water just comes flowing right out. I didn't undo it all the way. There we go. So now as you can see, it just completely flows out both sides. It drains really quickly. As you saw, there is quite a bit of water in here. So really by doing this, you're alleviating having to, completely lift it over or something like that. It drains super easily. So this was just a short video to kind of show you guys how the Yeti works in a real world scenario, sort of like with the backpacks, just showcasing what it does with, food and things in it. I will be doing a video where the Yeti is only full of ice and nothing else, just to see how well the ice retention really is and how it works. So look out for that in the coming weeks, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!